Okay, does anybody remember what 180 broke down to? 9 and 20, but 20. All right, so we're going to do that even though it's not the largest one. All right, so we'll go with 9 and 20 since somebody said 9 and 20. Because 20 can break down to what? Right. Thank you. All right, what's square root of 9? What's square root of 4? Square root of x to the fourth. And then what's left behind? 6x squared radical 5. Exactly. And again, for those guys who are interested, 180 is 36 times 5. All right, that's the one I was hoping you would tell me. But it's okay not to know. All right, just going to take a little bit extra time. All right, let's knock out number 4. All right, so these all get broken down. 12 gets broken down to what? Good. Does anybody remember what 108 was? 36 times 3. You could also do 9 times 12, but then 12 has to be broken down. And then 27, of course, is what? 3 times 9. Square root of 4. Yeah. So there's a 4 outside, so that becomes a 8 radical 3. Square root of 36 is, there's a 5 outside, so that becomes, good job. Come on, participate. Square root of 9. There's a 5 outside. All right, remember, I'm trying to teach some of you guys. You got to let me know. All right, you got to help me. All right, anybody have any problems with that? All right, nothing different on the test tomorrow. All right, so now, final answer. I agree. -7 radical 3. Any issues? All right, here we go. Distributing a square root of 7. Distributing a square root 7. What's square root of 7 times square root of 7? But there's a 2 out in front, so that's a what? 14. Square root of 7 times -3. All right, we're moving on. All right, not bad, right? And look, I'm moving until someone says slow down and help me. All right, come on, you're going to high school. You got to be able to raise your hand and say slow down and give me a little bit of help here. Nobody? All right, here we go. Does the middle term cancel out here? No. Good job. 3 times 4. No. Smiley face number 1 is how much? -16 radical 2. Kind of feels good to know it, doesn't it? That's what happens when you work hard. Next. Plus 15 radical 2. Okay, now the hard part. -4 times +5. -20. Radical 2 times radical 2. All right, come on now. I wrote it all out for you. Now I want you to look at the -20 times 2. What's that? -40. So now you should be able to tell me what's 12 minus 40. -28. -16 plus 15. Negative radical 2. Everybody good with that? Anybody have any questions? You're good. You're good. It's the same. All right. Let's check out number 10. All right, here we go. 4 times 6. 24. First smiley face is going to be everybody good with -30 radical 7. Second smiley face. -12 radical 7. Okay, now this is where some of you might need a little work. Negative times a negative. 5 times 3. Radical 7 times radical 7. Good, good, good. And of course, 15 times 7 is 105. Now, here's where some people make a mistake. It's not 24 minus 105. It's 24 what? Plus. So that's 100 minus
minus 42, or 42.
Wait, why is it plus?
This is a positive 24 and a positive 105. I'm not doing the inverse. I'm combining terms. You with me? Right?
Not like you would to get rid of the 105 on the right side. you would-
No, there's no right and left side. It's not an equal sign. You with me? You're simplifying, you're combining terms. Good with that? All right, here we go. What do I do for 12? Right, multiply by radical 5. So I end up with 2 radical 5 over what? 5. 2 radical 5 over 5. Good? Uh-oh. This was the hard one. Right, it's called the conjugate, right? So you got to multiply by 1 plus radical 5. 1 plus radical 5. All right, come on now. Distributed square root of 5 on the top. Radical 5 plus 5. Very good. Radical 5 plus 5. Now what happens to the middle term? Cancels. That's right. The middle term cancels, so there is no more square root. What's 1 times 1? Negative times a positive. Radical 5 times radical 5. Good job. So now we have radical 5 plus 5 over what? Negative 4. And you can leave it just like that. That's fine. Yes, sir. Radical 5 times 1. What's radical 5 times 1? What's radical 5 times radical 5? You with me on this? What?
How did you get the 1 minus 5? Like
1 times 1 is 1. Radical 5 times radical 5 is 5. The middle term cancels out. When you do the smiley faces, those cancel. One is a negative radical 5. The other one is a positive radical 5.
Will it always be like that?
For this, yes. Yes, sir. Because the mathematicians got together and said you're not allowed to have square roots in the denominator. That's the only reason. All right. I still don't know why. Yeah, but in this case, there was no addition and subtraction. That's the difference. You see it? Yeah, you have to do what's called the conjugate. Okay. Here we go. Let's knock out 16. Now for 16, I'd like everyone to rewrite that as square root of 16 over square root of 3. What's the square root of 16? So that really is 4 over square root 3. Then what do I have to do to both sides? Yeah, multiply the numerator by square root of 3 and the denominator by square root of 3. So that becomes, yes, 4 radical 3 over 3. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions? All right, here we go. Now on this one, remember square, you have to write it twice. Come on. 5 minus 3 radical 2. 5 minus 3 radical 2. Is everybody with me on that? Now 5 times 5 is 25. This is first smiley face. Be careful, negative 15 radical 2. Second smiley face. Yes, negative 15 radical 2. And then negative 3 times negative 3 is a square root 2 times square root 2. All right, we're getting it. Okay, what's 9 times 2? Yes. So now 25 plus 18 today is 43. Negative 15 radical 2 and negative 15 radical 2 is. All right, Davis, come on, buddy.
So for, like, for the old one, when you did like the bracket and then the other bracket and then the smiley faces.
Yeah.
And then just wondering between the bracket and then the smiley faces, but then for like the part where you multiply I get 9 and times 2, I don't get how you got that.
This 9 times 2. Watch. This negative 3 times this negative 3. Square root 2 times square root 2. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9, right? Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. That's what that is. Go.
Oh, why would it be negative, why would it be negative 39?
Negative 15 and good. All right, here we go on 20. Combining terms here. 5 minus 7. Negative 2 radical 3. 6 minus 1. Everybody okay with that? Anybody have any issues? Everybody's good? All right, let's check out 22. All right, don't be confused because there's variables now. Does the middle term cancel? Let's do that. Yeah, so if you recognize that, the problem's much easier now. What's 3 times 3?
Yeah.
Square root of y times square root of y. What happens to the middle term? Cancels. Negative 4 times positive 4. Negative 16. Everybody's good with that? You good? All right, here we go. $24. What do I do to both sides? Square x minus 9 equals 4.
Why do you skip 23?
Which ones are we doing? Now what? Add 9. X equals 13. Is there an extraneous solution on this? No, there's no variable on the right side. All right, no variable on the right side. Meaning on the right side of the equation. 26. What do I got to fix this one again. Right, the square root of 4 is silly, right? Because that would just be 2. But anyway, let's pretend that's not there. We square both sides, right? What? No, plus or minus is when you take the square root. You with me? Right? So if I said this, x squared equals 9, take the square root, x equals plus or minus 3. Okay, good question. All right, so here, x minus 2 equals, what's 2 squared? Square root of 4 squared.
2.
Square root of 4 squared. 4. X minus 2 equals what? So x equals 18. Perfect. Yes, sir. Go.
After, like, if there was, they say if there was like a plus 2 after the radical for x minus 2 radical,
Yeah, you'd have to subtract
but
2.
you have to square that.
Yeah, but that's a harder thing. So I don't want you to worry about that. You with me? I'm not going to make you do that.
Like if it was outside the radical.
That's more of an algebra 2 thing. Do you hear me?
Like I'm saying, like the one above it. Like look at the one above it. You have to
Subtract 2. No, you subtract 2 first. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Subtract 2. You isolate. It's called isolating. Do you hear me? All right, here we go. Now, again, this is the little bit more challenging one. Is it possible to have an extraneous solution here? Yes, because there's a variable equal to a square root. Can your square root be negative? No, so you're not allowed to have negative answers here. So what do I do to both sides? square. So I have x squared equals 6x minus 8. Now what do I do to both sides? Move everything over because it's a quadratic. This goes over and this goes over. So x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. Everybody agree with that? Now you got to do factoring. The factoring tomorrow will be really basic. All right, nothing complicated, just to make sure you're constantly reviewing factoring. So what does that factor to? How do x and x? I like that. Now you say, what are the factors of 8 that are 6? Those are 4 and 2. What do I want the factors 4 and 2 to be? Both what? Both negative. Why is it both negative? Right, to equal -6, I have to be -4 and -2. So now we just say x minus 4 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0, so x equals 4, x equals 2. Does everybody agree? Now, are any of those extraneous? No, they're not what? They're not negative. Is everybody with me on this? All right, so 4 and 2 are good. Yes, Miss Vaughn. When it's a quadratic, meaning there's an x squared and an x. You with me? All right, let's knock out number 30. What am I going to do to both sides here? Square, square, square. So 5x squared minus 36 equals what? 4x squared. Now, this is the one where I'm just going to move this over and move this over. So I end up with x squared equals what? 36, correct? X squared equals, I subtracted just for you. I did minus 4x squared. And I added 36. Thank you. So now this is Miss Rollins when I say x equals plus or minus 6. Is there an extraneous solution here?
Yes.
Yes, because your square root can't be negative. So the only answer is what? 6. 6 is the only answer. All right, let's have some more fun. 32, what do I do to both sides? Square both sides. X squared plus 6x equals how much? 16. Quadratic, so I have to set it equal to 0 and factor. So x squared plus 6x what? Minus 16 equals 0. Now I need to determine what are the factors of 16 that make 0? 8 and 2. So x, what else? What kind of 8? What kind of 2? What kind of 8? Positive 8 and negative 2. So now x equals -8 or x equals 2. Is there an extraneous solution here? Yes, because there's a, there's no extraneous solution here. There's no variable here. Does everybody agree? No variable. You don't have to worry about it if there's not a variable. Is everybody with me? So those are both good answers. What? I subtracted 16 from both sides. Davis.
So if you had an extraneous solution there, would you apply for both? Or because there's only one negative, would you just leave that out?
Yeah, it would be the -8. But there's no variable over here on the right side.
Yeah, I know.
You're right. It would just be the -8. And believe it or not, if both of them were negative, it could be no solution at all. Okay. All right, here we go. Now we're doing the distance formula. All right, the formula will be just like this on the test for you. Not a big deal. All right. So here we go. D equals square root of 8 plus 7 squared plus 16 minus 1 squared. Fifteen squared plus 15 squared square root. D equals 225 plus 225. D equals the square root of 450. 2 times 225. That was kind of a hard one. Square root of 225 is 15. So 15 radical 2. All right, let's knock out 36. D equals square root 8 minus 12 squared plus 7 plus 1 squared. Negative 4 squared plus 8 squared. 16 plus 64. Square root of 80. What was 80? Sixteen times 5. What's the square root of 16? 4 radical 5. Anybody have a problem with that? Yeah,
Maybe one more of those.
38. Here we go. D equals square root 11 minus 4 squared plus 23 plus 1 squared. D equals 7 squared plus 24 squared. 49 plus 576. Square root 625. 25. Anybody got any questions with that? That was the distance formula. You can do whatever you want tomorrow. Calculators, bring your calculator. Doesn't matter to me. All right, here we go. Now remember your right triangle there, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So here we go. Again, I would write it a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 16 squared plus b squared equals 34 squared. 256 plus b squared equals 900, 1140, 1156. Is that right? Somebody do 34 squared. I'm not sure if that's right. Is it? All right, so b squared is equal to 900. So b is equal to 30. Yes. Well, we did the square root of 900. Yeah, I just didn't put it on. You good? All right, here we go. Let's knock out 42. Again, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A squared plus 10 equals 100. A squared equals 90. And then we break down square root of 90. Everybody good with 3 radical 10?
Why are they just, why did you, how did you square out the?
Tell me again, bud, I didn't hear you.
Why is
Because I have a squared, right? I have to undo the square. No. To undo a square, you take the square root.
Yeah. Why would it, if when you added the square to, 10, why didn't it, why did the?
You have to isolate first. I subtracted 10. Is that making sense or not? You sure? All right, here we go. Try the next one then. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A squared plus 2 radical 5 squared equals 10 squared. A squared plus, what's 2 squared? Square root of 5 squared. Yeah. So A squared plus 20 equals 100. A squared equals 80. Now take the square root. And 80 is 16 times 5. 4 radical 5. Anybody have any questions with that? All right, one more. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A squared plus 7 squared equals 7 radical 2 squared. There you go. Anybody have any questions with that? Anybody have any issues? Okay, guys, like I said now, I'll post all the solutions, all right? And if you want to start right now, I'll post the solutions and you can kind of look it over, all right? And then if you want to check out the video explanations, remember you can go online and just look at the video and that explains all the details of the odds. All right, so good job today, guys. Very good. Get busy. Why take care of all this for you.